Please introduce yourself.
My name is Ruslan, my last name is Serbov, and my call sign is David.
Why David? Tell me the story behind it.
David, because I have deep Jewish roots and a strong heritage, that's probably the main reason I was given that call sign.
Do you put anything more into this call sign than just your Jewish roots?
Yes, there's definitely something to it. I'm not particularly tall, but even from early childhood, I always stood out in that way. I wouldn't say I was incredibly strong, but ever since I was a kid, I was constantly fighting with my older brother and all my friends. We always had this intense athletic rivalry. So maybe there's something more to it than just the name David. If you really think about it, David and Goliath, David was just an ordinary, humble guy, but he had the courage to take down a giant.
So this story inspires you, I understand.
Maybe there's something to it, but mostly ever since I was a kid, I just wanted to be strong. My favorite cartoon was Hercules, the Disney one, and my favorite movie was Conan the Barbarian. I still remember having these little 1 kilogram dumbbells, and I just kept working out over and over. I wanted to grow my hair long, but my mom wouldn't let me. I grew up in a pretty strict family, but I really wanted that long hair. And I kept working out all the time, training, because I wanted to be strong like Hercules.
Tell me your Jewish roots. Who exactly in your family is Jewish?
It's on my father's side. His mother, their last name was Troman. In German, Troman means little drummer. They were there even before the Second World War. They were pretty well off, but as communists, they were dispossessed, exiled, deported. That's their story.
Do you feel that heritage within you? If so, what really stands out to you about it?
I don't really feel anything specifically Jewish because on my father's side, his father had the surname Serbov, which is actually Bulgarian. They were settlers, so-called Serbs, who first moved to Bulgaria and later to Bessarabia. So on my father's side, they're clearly Bulgarian, and his mother was a Troman, which is also a distinct and important part of that heritage. And my mother is half Azerbaijani. She was actually born in Azerbaijan, but her real ethnicity is Avar, a distinct nationality known as the Avars. More specifically, she comes from a region in Azerbaijan called Zakatala, which is a very meaningful part of my background. But at the core of my identity, it's really a rich blend of Bulgarian, Jewish, and a touch of Eastern heritage.
Have you ever experienced anti-Semitism in your life, maybe as a child or later on?
Very few people know this detail, and it's only recently that I've started sharing it with anyone, mainly because back then we were involved in these small but significant missions. In other words, I was debunking the myth that Nazis, fascists, and anti-Semites serve in Azov. I myself am a Russian speaker. I grew up in a Russian-speaking family. And in Azov, there are others like me, Bulgarians, Jews, and Azerbaijanis who serve as well. So it's already kind of unclear. I mean, they even speak Russian. So I'm debunking the myth that fascists serve in Azov. Because if there really were fascists there, nobody would have joined. And from the very beginning, they told me exactly where the meeting would be. Very recently, my beloved parents passed away far too early, and I no longer had anyone left to ask about my family's ancestry. For about the past year and a half, I've been working diligently to carefully reconstruct my family tree. I've been actively searching for crucial information, and I even took a comprehensive DNA test. All these different origins. So I didn't really have anyone to ask. And even now, very few people actually know about this.
You mentioned that your parents passed away. Could you share a bit of that story with us?
Well, briefly, they both struggled with poor health throughout their lives. My mother, in particular, had serious heart problems, and she tragically passed away when I was still in the 11th grade. My father also dealt with various health issues, but he passed away when I was about 21 while I was still serving in the naval infantry, so I grew up in a normal family. Not a poor family, but a normal, good one. My parents were in business, so in my childhood, I really had everything for the first time. I mean, by the time I was 8, I already had a computer. I even had a game console, probably one of the very first ones, so everything was really good. I also have an older brother who's 2 years older than me and a younger sibling as well. My older brother serves in the military too. Not long ago, he suffered a very serious injury. Before that, he had served in a Russian region for almost 5 years. Before joining the Legion, he also served in a volunteer battalion, also since 2014. And when the full-scale invasion began, he bravely deserted from the French Foreign Legion to come here and fight. He told me very emphatically that if he hadn't come at such a critical moment, he would never have forgiven himself for doing nothing. How could I sit in a foreign country serving when there's a war in my own homeland? So he came back and together we went to the deblockade. He even wanted to fly with me in the helicopter.
Who first inspired you to take the military path?
I never thought in my life that I would become a soldier. But my family was always really very pro-Ukrainian indeed. Even though I grew up speaking Russian, our family never had any leanings in that direction. In fact, even when the war tragically began in 2014, my father was always firmly for Ukraine. As for me becoming a soldier, I honestly never gave it serious thought. But when a deep sense of guilt starts to creep in, it's always accompanied by an even stronger sense of justice. That is, I will never remain silent when a strong person insults a weak person. I don't respect it and I don't like it.
Where are you from?
I was born in the city of Mykolaiv, finished a regular school education, and did well academically. I had no problems at all. I wasn't a troublemaker as a kid. I was active in sports, played football for a long time throughout my childhood, and later started practicing some martial arts. In our family with my brother, there was always this constant, intense competition. Growing up, we fought at least 10 times a day and really, really hard. Maybe that toughened me up quite a bit. Those fights we had, we weren't very old, but they were really intense. I remember my brother once took a real sledgehammer and hit me on the head. Bam! I got this huge bump, just like in a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Ziz, it popped up right away. We really fought like it was life or death.
What do you really remember? Every loving parent gives their children some valuable life advice, sometimes repeating the same phrase over and over, passing down cherished values from one generation to the next. Do you remember something significant your dad told you? Or maybe something from your mom?
I clearly remember that when I was in first or maybe second grade, I would try to complain to my parents, but they never really stood up for me. Even if someone older or much bigger offended me as a child, they never stepped in. The message was always the same. You need to solve your own problems yourself. So throughout our lives, even though we came from a normal family, we achieved everything on our own. No one pampered us or spoiled us. We were given only what was necessary, and the rest we had to earn ourselves.
So, what's a dark moment that really stands out in your memory and also a bright, positive one?
I believe it's always the difficult things in life that truly shape a person. Easy times create weak people, while hard times create strong people. In my family, there were good times, but when my parents separated, things became difficult. It was hard, there were problems, different moments. some family related and some not. That's why I believe it was exactly those challenges that toughened me up.
Is there something in particular that really comes back to you in your memory?
Starting around the age of 13 or 14, when my parents separated, I was already working. My mom had her own vegetable shops at the market, and I always had to help out loading all the goods. So at 13 or 14, I was constantly working, and I didn't get any money for it, not even a penny of pocket money. And it was exactly that experience that made me not want to see myself working at the market in the future. I just wanted to be a normal person.
Tell me, what did you dream of becoming as a child? What were your thoughts in
Your childhood. Well, like I said before, there was that classic movie, something like Conan the Barbarian or maybe Hercules. I was drawn to that kind of powerful role. I guess I didn't just want a regular job. Maybe deep down I really wanted to be some kind of legendary figure.
So did you really become one?
Well, I certainly did something, but as I always say, I'm not a hero at all. It's even written in the book that I'm not a hero. All the heroes are dead. I just got incredibly lucky. But every single day, I can wake up, look myself straight in the mirror, and feel truly proud of what I've accomplished. Because what I did for so many people, even imagining it, is absolutely terrifying, what I did. And I can look myself in the mirror and confidently tell my children about it. Because a true man is defined by his actions. Words in the end mean nothing. Only deeds, only actions matter. You can say whatever you want. But when it comes to danger, helping, rescuing, coming to the aid of your comrades, I believe I did everything I could. I don't regret it because I did what allows me to hold my head high, walk tall, and feel good about myself.
Who are your heroes?
I truly believe the courageous guys who skillfully flew in on those powerful helicopters are the real heroes. Heroes with a capital H. They embody remarkable bravery. I'm talking about the highly trained pilots and their dedicated crews. There's also the esteemed commander, Raidis Polkwazov, a truly remarkable individual. And there are so many other extraordinary heroes, genuinely exceptional people. So many brave men whose incredible stories I carefully record and write about in my books, yet whose profound contributions sadly remain unknown to the wider public. I believe it's my duty to talk about them. There are so many names: Pashte, Riji, Akim, Metro, Islam, truly an extensive list of names I could easily go on and mention. I constantly and diligently try to remember them all. There are also many in other units, so people don't think I'm only talking about Azov. And I truly believe that in every single brigade there are real heroes. That absolutely includes the dedicated border guards, the brave Marines, the vital territorial defense forces, and the diligent police officers. There are so many truly outstanding people. I also recently watched a very insightful interview. There are also truly ordinary soldiers. I've been in the army for almost 10 years myself. I'm just a regular senior soldier. There are many people without official officer ranks, but through their actions, they've proven that it doesn't matter what rank you hold. Everything depends only on your strength of spirit. Physical strength doesn't matter at all. You can become physically strong in a year, 2 or 3, but it can take a lifetime to learn to be strong in spirit and to be a good person. And in general, I am grateful to many people.
And this person comes from civilian life,
Not military.
not military.
For me, they are heroes. For me, my brother is a hero. It's my beloved wife who couldn't find any peace of mind while I was held in captivity in the city of Mariupol, especially since I hadn't told anyone that I was going there, that I was flying there. Somehow, somewhere, they figured it out. And it's my wonderful aunt who has always been there for me, constantly supporting me. There are also a few truly amazing friends. To me, they're absolute heroes, like Buba, who is an incredible person, and a few others, though I'm not sure if they'd want me to mention their names publicly, since some prefer to stay anonymous.
Your aunt, as I understand, has had a very strong influence on your life. She supported you, she raised you, if I understand correctly. What values did she instill in you?
Actually, we didn't communicate very often or very deeply when my parents were still alive. There were often serious unresolved conflicts between them. After I was severely wounded, we started talking more, but even then, our conversations weren't particularly close or intimate. But now for them, as they often say, I'm like someone who came down from the heavens. I honestly laugh when they say that. It makes me feel a bit awkward, but that's exactly how they see it.
And what do they mean by that?
Well, maybe I don't see myself as that tough, but they think I'm some kind of cyborg, that I'm just completely unbreakable. I'm not saying I'm completely unbreakable or that I'm not afraid of anything, because anyone who says they're not afraid of anything is definitely lying. Everyone feels fear, and I'm certainly no exception. I was afraid too, and when I finally arrived in Mariupol, if I hadn't truly felt that deep sense of fear, I'm sure I would have been dead within 2 seconds. Fear is like a flame. If you don't control it, it will burn you. It's the same thing, honestly. If you don't control your fear, it turns into panic, into unnecessary fuss, and a lot of other problems can come from that. So you really need to keep your fear under control. And anyone who says they're not afraid, I honestly don't think that's true at all.
What is your biggest fear and the greatest fear you've ever felt in your life, and how did you deal with it?
There's a deep fear of being suffocated and also a strong fear of being trapped in a very small space.
What did you fear at Azovstal?
Azovstal, it wasn't even fear, it was more like a profound lack of desire. The very first moment was when I was flying in a helicopter, just hoping I wouldn't get shot down before even landing, because I really thought it would be kind of ridiculous since, first of all, I didn't actually tell anyone, almost no one even knew, and secondly, there would truly be nothing to brag about at all, not even making it there. I really didn't want the first one, but the second time was truly devastating. I sustained a serious life-threatening injury. A powerful tank missile violently tore off my leg, and I immediately began bleeding out profusely. I genuinely felt like I was already dying, and for those who confidently say that dying is incredibly hard, I would say it's actually strangely pleasant, like heavy velvet curtains slowly, gently closing, bit by bit, and encroaching darkness, a profound darkness. A wonderfully pleasant numbness spreads through your fingertips and legs, an incredibly relaxed state, almost as if you are peacefully lying on a warm, sandy beach under the sun's gentle rays. Then it starts to get cold, colder and colder, and you distinctly realize your vital strength is leaving you. The final curtains are about to completely close. And when they finally did, I didn't see anything at all. No bright light at the end of a tunnel, no familiar faces, no terrifying flames, just absolute darkness, complete oblivion. And in my mind, I vividly imagined that if I stayed there in that desolate place, most likely no one would ever come to get me. In that very place where the fighting was raging, no one would have been able to reach me because of the constant shelling, and most likely I would have just been eaten by wild dogs. I always wanted, if I were to die, for my body to be buried with proper dignity, for my remains to be respectfully returned to my loved ones. Otherwise, I would have just been lying there, completely eaten by hungry stray dogs or torn apart by other devastating explosions. I truly didn't want to simply vanish into thin air like that without a trace.
Who inspired you to become a soldier, to join the military?
I decided to enlist when I saw the events of 2014 during Ilovaisk, when our columns were ambushed and shot at, when we were deceived. That's when I felt a heightened sense of justice. I wanted, as soon as humanly possible, to take up arms and become a dedicated soldier. Before that, I wasn't a soldier at all. I had finished a regular school and then graduated from the prestigious Law Institute in Kharkiv, so I was essentially a civilian. I never actually worked in my chosen profession after graduating from law school. Then the crucial events began, the Maidan Revolution, and later the war in 2014. and that's exactly when I enlisted. But I never imagined there would be such a large-scale war as there is now. In 2016, I was discharged from the Marine Corps after demobilization. After spending 2 months at home, I signed a 3-year contract with Azov and served my term. When the contract ended, I chose not to renew it because I wasn't satisfied with how the war was being conducted, so I left. In 2020, I left the service entirely and worked in Kiev as a personal security guard in the security sector. And when the full-scale war began, I was a civilian at that time. It started in Kiev, now under siege, and that same day I was at work. On the 24th, I packed my things and met up with the guys. We had known for several days that something very serious was going to happen, 100%. And we successfully carried out various missions in the Kiev region. But for me personally, that's nothing to brag about. In fact, in the Kiev region, I didn't eliminate anyone at all. And compared to what tragically happened in Mariupol, what happened in Kiev was merely child's play. And when the enemy had already withdrawn their remaining forces from Kiev, there were no enemies left there, but by then, our guys were already surrounded. I decided I would get there by any means. Even when things had already gotten so bad, the guys could still message me. They still had some line of contact, and they were asking if help was coming, if I would come or fly in, if anyone would help them. As a soldier, I fully understood that there would most likely be no breakthrough. It would only mean heavy casualties. But I said, yes, I'll be there, I'll come. Well, I didn't actually say I'd come. I just said I'd be there. Because at that moment, we didn't really know what it would look like yet. But I said, I will absolutely be there, even though I knew it was truly a one-way ticket, but I was completely ready to share their ultimate fate without any unnecessary pangs of conscience whatsoever. I knew there would be absolutely no breakthrough, but for me, getting there was truly a matter of profound honor, as I have indeed said many times before. If we cannot genuinely help our friends in a difficult and challenging situation, then our very lives aren't worth a single nickel. That's precisely why only concrete actions truly matter. Mere words mean absolutely nothing. A man is ultimately known by his significant deeds, and I firmly decided that I would wholeheartedly share their fight with them. I had my own personal weapon, I had my own essential equipment, I had my own complete gear. I wasn't issued anything there. Before boarding the helicopter, I was in all my own personal gear. I had my own trusty rifle, my own protective body armor, everything I possessed, all the money I had accumulated. I invested completely in essential equipment and powerful weapons. As it even says in the Holy Bible, sell your clothes and buy yourself a sword. In precisely the same way, I put all my available money into acquiring weapons and then flew directly to Mariupol. Fortunately, I wasn't shot down, but unfortunately, one of the two helicopters that dropped us off was on its way back. It was shot down. Another rescue helicopter went after it, and my friend Borian, his call sign was Klepikov, his last name, was on board. He was shot down and killed. And another helicopter was shot down, with severe injuries on board as well. If I'm not mistaken, several helicopters were shot down, which meant that flying to Mariupol was basically a 50-50 chance.
Do you believe in karma, in miracles?
The fact that I survived is just pure luck. It was pure luck, truly one in a million, absolutely one in a million, because I suffered such a severe injury. I was in such a desolate place where no one could have made it out, no one could have come for me. The injury was so unbelievable that some people don't even believe it happened. A massive anti-tank missile hit my leg, went straight through, and by some miracle didn't explode. I mean, this missile is designed to destroy armored vehicles, tanks, APCs, and it hit a person. And I miraculously survived. It just tore my leg clean off, completely severed, and it flew far away. It wasn't hanging there, nothing. It was just gone, instantly. I lost so much precious blood, and the people who were supposed to come for me hadn't even taken their radios with them. Everything started piling up in such a terrible way that I truly realized I was going to be left there completely alone. So the fact that I ultimately survived isn't heroism on my part, it's just pure luck. I put my life on the line like a roulette bet, betting on 1 out of 100, and it just happened to land on 1. I staked my entire life, everything I had, on that roulette wheel, and the fact that I survived is nothing but sheer luck. I don't even know how to explain it. Sometimes after something like that, you can't help but wonder, maybe there really is something more out there. Maybe the universe gave you a second chance to do something greater. And other times you just think we're nothing but cosmic dust, utterly insignificant.
So, would you say that your relationship with God has only just begun?
They've probably only just begun, yes. After that, you start to think that nothing happens without a reason, that things can't just be random. I still had a fresh wound. After all, I got it during the night of the 15th to the 16th, and by the next day, we were already taken prisoner. I spent a month and a half in captivity with that wound, with no antibiotics, nothing for the pain. I could have died very quickly there from an infection, some bacteria or a virus, you never know. My leg was rotting badly in captivity, and they gave us almost nothing, just enough to keep a person from dying. And yet, with that wound, I managed to hold on. After a month and a half, they finally changed my bandages, while some of the guys have been sitting there for 3 years already. Honestly, it feels like a real miracle.
Those who took part in these hostilities or ended up as a result of these hostilities, do you think that all of you are not heroes, or do you see it that way?
No, that's not entirely true, because when you tell people you flew into Mariupol, they just say, oh, well, what's in Mariupol? But when you mention Azovstal, everyone, absolutely everyone, knows about Azovstal. Yet Azovstal was actually the rear. From the very beginning, the fiercest and most brutal fighting was in the city itself, across different neighborhoods, the left bank, the right bank, the very center. Everyone who was there in Mariupol is a true hero, but not all, because many people hid in basements, deep underground, refusing to go out to the positions or take up arms. And there were quite a lot of such people.
Maybe, is there a certain situation?
I remember this. The battles on the left bank were already fierce, and we had almost no communication. We thought we were the last stronghold, and just 150 of us holding on. At night, with no evacuation, we would go out carrying our fallen, the 200s, back to the rear. And when I came back and saw how many people from neighboring units were just wandering around, some refusing, saying, I'm shell-shocked, my leg hurts, I don't want to, I'm scared, I'll cook, I'll help with the wounded, I'll carry stretchers. Sometimes you look at that and think, why did I even come here? But then you look at your brave comrades truly fighting valiantly in the city, giving their precious lives, their strong arms, their sturdy legs. There were many real heroes like that, heroes who sadly remained lying in that devastated city, some never even properly taken away. There are exceptional people like that, men who could single-handedly take out 30, 40, even 50 enemy soldiers. They surpassed me in professionalism and bravery dozens of times over, and when I saw these people, I stopped looking elsewhere because I realized there was no point in comparing myself to them. It's better to look up to those who truly held their positions in the city until the very end, and there have always been and always will be people like that.
What impressed you the most?
It's probably the sheer overwhelming number of enemy troops. I mean, you could sit on the top floor of a building and in just one day count 300 or 400 infantrymen running from one building to another. Your position could be assaulted by 10, 40, 50, 60, even 70 or 80 infantrymen, plus 2 tanks and 2 IFVs, a massive concentration of force. And I was deeply surprised, perhaps even astonished, because many of the individuals who stayed until the very end, the ones we expected to be fighting, destroying enemy forces, and picking up weapons to defend the besieged city, unfortunately did not fulfill those responsibilities. That inaction was a major source of my surprise and disappointment.
What was really the biggest fear there?
The biggest fear was to be left there as an unknown soldier without a chance to say goodbye to your loved ones.
Did you think about your beloved at that moment?
Yes, I thought about her a great deal, even at the very moment I was severely wounded. I had this profound thought that we hadn't truly said our goodbyes yet, that I absolutely couldn't just stay there in that helpless state, because I felt utterly powerless and completely vulnerable. And I truly didn't want to leave this world feeling so utterly helpless. I also had the profound thought that I genuinely wanted to do much, much more for Ukraine, because at that moment I deeply felt I hadn't done enough yet.
What did your beloved say to you when you came home after everything you'd been through?
Well, she didn't put any pressure on me. You know, she just cried, as she usually does. That came later, when I started rehabilitation. But even then, she never said, "Why didn't you tell me?" But she did feel a bit hurt. I remember at some point she was offended. Maybe that's why. During a recent interview, I said very clearly that a man should never ask his wife whether he should go to war or not. That's exactly what I stated. And it's quite possible that this particular remark is what upset her, causing her distress or disagreement. But if I start asking what I should do, then no one would ever let anyone go. So this is my choice. I don't regret it.
What does love mean to you?
For me, first and foremost, it's about support. It's truly mutual respect. It's about unwavering loyalty. It's about providing mutual assistance and unwavering support. Mutual assistance is essential. And probably above all, the most fundamental and crucial aspect is respect. It's truly essential, absolutely paramount.
Do you really plan to continue your military career?
To continue a military career, I won't make any promises, but I don't see myself doing that. I could actually go back, become an FPV operator, a professional drone pilot. Yes, it's necessary. Those are very good skills. You've seen modern wars. It's needed, it's necessary, it's effective. But I don't see myself in that role because I didn't see any heroism in it. There are heroes everywhere. But knowing my own character, I simply cannot sit idly by, listening on the radio as people get surrounded, maybe dying, desperately needing help, with no conceivable way to get them out. I would immediately drop everything and go, and I would willingly die with them. That's just the kind of person I am. Somewhere in a combat unit running around. I can't do that anymore. I'm not a fighting asset. I'd just be a burden. I've left that life behind. Now I want to dedicate myself to my family, my loved ones, my friends, to grow, to get my life in order a bit, because while I was fighting, others were doing that.
What truly motivated you to write this book? And do you feel you accomplished everything you initially set out to do?
Yes, I believe I can handle it. It was a psychotherapist, a woman who encouraged me. She kept telling me, just write, write, write. It's necessary because otherwise everything gets forgotten. Yes, things really do get forgotten. You have to keep writing things down all the time. And I believe it's my duty as a person, as someone who was lucky enough to survive, to tell the stories of those people. As someone who was there directly, who took part, who arrived by helicopter, I feel I must write about the heroes no one knows except their loved ones, relatives, and friends, about the heroes who truly deserve respect and recognition. Because nowadays, attention and widespread fame often fall on the shoulders of people who don't truly deserve it. People who not only didn't take part in the actual fighting, but who showed fear and cowardice and displayed none of the qualities of real manhood. That is why it is my duty as someone who was fortunate enough to survive to tell the stories of these people and their heroism so that their parents and relatives can be proud of them, and so that future generations know about these events, about these people, because a person who does not know their past does not deserve a future. And I truly believe that this book in the future will be like the venerable tale of bygone years, or perhaps the epic song of the Nibelungs, if, for example, there hadn't been such gifted Homers to write about momentous events. We wouldn't know what truly happened back then. And if it weren't for those dedicated people who recorded it, we would have no memory of it at all. And our future generations must remember the price at which freedom is won. As I always say, freedom is never given for nothing. You have to shed blood. Nothing comes for free. Someone pays for it with their very life, someone pays for it with their precious health, someone pays with their beloved loved ones, but everything has a price. I decided that I would personally pay for it with my own blood, and I absolutely do not regret it. I have indeed lost quite a considerable amount of blood.
What do you think? How will this war end?
If things keep going the way they are now, with everyone relaxed and corruption so high, many people tell me, victory, 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 but I ask them, what makes you think there will even be a victory? What is it that we need to do now? What has to happen for us to actually achieve victory? What, are Martians supposed to come and wipe everyone out with lasers? That's not going to happen. Don't even want to talk about victory. As someone who has truly seen things and understands a bit about the complexity of the situation, I'm not going to speak of victory. Of course, everyone deeply wants it, but in reality, it's still very far away, a distant prospect. Any war ends with some kind of negotiations, but right now things are going well for Russia. Everything is working out for them. I doubt that they will be willing to negotiate. When things stop working out for them, then they might be willing to negotiate. But for now, everything is going well for them. They're getting what they want. So consequently, they would only negotiate strictly on their own terms, and the terms they're offering are such that we simply couldn't live under them at all.
What do you dream about?
What do I dream about? I believe that the thing I've dreamed about most since childhood, I've already done. An act that allows me to look in the mirror with pride. To sacrifice my life, my health, that's what I've done. To give a part of myself for the freedom of our country, for the freedom of our people. That was my greatest dream. And going forward, it's not just a fleeting dream, but a concrete goal to actively assist and support other soldiers like myself. That means sharing my military experience, passing on crucial knowledge, and providing real training. Ultimately, that's what we aspire to and what truly motivates us. Well, I don't know if I should say this or not. I'd like to, I think, for the fools. Right now, I'm training many people, running different courses with dedicated guys actively helping me. What I'd really like is to create a specialized training center to train as many people as possible, both civilians and military. A place with multiple areas covering every military specialty and with consistent funding, because I simply can't do it alone. There has to be real state support. That's exactly how I envision myself.
Would you truly change anything at all in your entire past if you were given the chance?
If I could go back to the helicopter, to that flight, I wouldn't change it. Because then I wouldn't have anything to be proud of in my future life. Maybe there are some small things like I genuinely regret a bit that I didn't study English from my childhood, or that I didn't start doing sports activities much earlier in my life. That's the second significant thing. And third, that I unfortunately spent a considerable amount of my valuable time on certain people who simply did not truly deserve it at all. But if it weren't for those past mistakes, maybe I wouldn't be the person I am today. Because every mistake I've made, everything I've faced and overcome has only made me stronger. And I have this principle, always try to live in such a way that the fear of death never enters your heart. I'm not saying I'm completely fearless, but in life, I'm truly not afraid of anything, especially not of dying. And if it comes to that, for the people who truly deserve it, I would do it without a moment's hesitation.
I'm a happy person.
I'm a happy person.
What does happiness mean to you?
For me, happiness is being surrounded by people who talk to me not because they want something from me, but because they respect me and enjoy being with me. And for me, happiness is also having enough to live comfortably, not starving, being able to reliably pay for electricity and clean water. I'm not a millionaire, but I truly have everything I need. And whatever I don't have, if I really want it, I'll get it. If not, I won't.
How do you feel about the country's military and political leadership?
But to be honest with you, I try not to talk about it too much, not because I'm afraid and not because I don't want to. I just consider myself an ordinary soldier. My job is simply to fight. And for me to really think about such complex questions, I'd need to have a solid education, some serious experience. Otherwise, I might say something that would make people think I'm completely crazy. I'm just an ordinary soldier. I certainly know how to fight, but truly competent people should be the ones dealing with these important matters. Yes, things aren't all that great here at this particular time. Well, everyone knows that. There are a lot of issues, a lot of problems in the military, in mobilization, in the economy, and with corruption. A whole lot then. But perhaps the biggest problem in our country isn't just the government, not all of it, but it's ordinary people who make the choices. So people first elect their government and then they complain that everything is terrible, yet they do absolutely nothing to change it. That's why I always stick to this principle. If I say something, I have to propose a concrete, actionable solution.
What action did you lack the courage to take?
There hasn't been an action I didn't have the courage for. I had enough courage for everything.
How do you feel about Russian language, which is also everywhere?
I grew up in a Russian-speaking family, and at home I also speak Russian. But when it comes to posts, communicating online, in the media, or in public spaces, I try to use Ukrainian. When shopping in stores, I also use Ukrainian. In general, I try to use it almost everywhere, although honestly, it's a bit difficult, but it's something that needs to be done. And maybe in the not too distant future, I truly hope I'll be able to think in Ukrainian. And I very much want our children to speak Ukrainian fluently and confidently.
Only Ukrainian? Only
Ukrainian.
How has the war changed you?
The full-scale war, for me, it wasn't just the war itself. It changed me even more. The whole situation, the entire journey I went through really made me rethink a lot of things, and I drew some very important conclusions. And I realized that there are people for whom I was ready to lay down my life. They do not deserve even a single drop of my blood, not a drop of my sweat, not even the smallest sliver of a fingernail.
Do you have children? Are you planning to? What principles will you instill in your children?
I think I really won't put too much pressure on them. I just want them to be healthy. That's what I personally think anyway. But I do believe they should do sports, not professionally, but mainly to develop physically and stay healthy, and also learn different languages from an early age. That's really it. I honestly think there shouldn't be any undue pressure.
Do you really think society values its heroes?
It's a 50-50 situation. When people feel, and not everyone, but many do, when they truly feel a sense of danger, then they really need you. When they truly need you, they genuinely respect you, they deeply value you. And when the immediate danger is already somewhere far away from them, some people unfortunately start not just to clearly show indifference, but even outright disrespect. I have to say, a great many people absolutely love bread and circuses. When things are truly bad for you, when you're really suffering, when you're experiencing significant pain, everyone is suddenly very interested in you. When you finally get back on your feet and continue your life's journey, and it's essential that you do go on living and thriving, people, once they see things are really working out for you, inevitably begin to feel envy. They start counting your money, believing you should give everything away. That's just how human nature, unfortunately, is. That's just how it really is. I faced this myself too. When absolutely everything is going badly for you, when you're bedridden after surgery, everyone is like, oh God, poor you, may God protect you. But as soon as you finally get back on your feet, God forbid someone sees that you've traveled abroad somewhere, then that's it. They say you've sold out. That's just how it is, though of course not everyone thinks that way. But I've encountered it and I felt it myself.
How did Azov influence you?
Azov, in my opinion, is one of the most capable and highly motivated units. It has brought together a wide range of individuals from different specialties and backgrounds, forming a cohesive and highly effective force. And they have this idea. People used to say Azov, the regiment, were fascists, Nazis. But in the end, it turned out that these so-called Nazis, these supposed fascists, were the very ones who fought the enemy with unmatched ferocity, who held the defense like no one else, all the way to Stanitsia. For me personally, Azov means the friends I came to know and deeply respect. That was the main reason I flew in on the helicopter, to be with them. But I didn't fly in just for Azov. They were definitely a part of it. But it was also for the entire Mariupol garrison, the Marines, the border guards, the territorial defense, the police officers, and for the civilians as well, very much for the civilians too. And truly it was for our whole country. Because we drew a massive enemy onslaught onto ourselves, and I truly believe we accomplished that important task.
Do you remember any civilians you encountered while you were there?
Yes, I remember. A very large number of civilians tragically died, a great many indeed. Yes, I remember. And I remember how a man came to us. He asked if we had any drinking water because they said they had small children with them. I had a few bottles of water with me, so I gave them without expecting anything in return. Then he brought us a pot of buckwheat mixed with stew. I told him, don't wash the pot, just leave it as it is. And that's what stuck with me the most. Those were the moments that felt truly pleasant.
What was the hardest thing there?
The hardest thing was the constant hunger, the lack of food, drinking water, and for the severely wounded, proper medicine. And for a soldier actively fighting, especially once you're at the plant itself, it was even worse. Hunger was very hard to bear. Even in captivity, it wasn't the same, of course, but you still thought about food all the time. 24 hours a day, whenever you weren't sleeping, you were thinking about food. And even when you sleep, you dream about it. And very often in captivity, the three of us would sit together and talk. Each of us hoped we would be exchanged, and we'd discuss what we would order to eat once we got back home. For example, I'd say I'd order 2 pizzas, a Happy Meal, and a cake to celebrate my return from captivity. Then I'd ask, what about you? And I'd say, me, I want Coca-Cola, I want shashlik, I want lula kebab, I want one of those triple patty burgers from the menu. And then, what about you? We were constantly having these conversations about food, food. It was really hard, really, truly hard. The human body always needs, always craves, always longs for some kind of nourishment.
Besides food, while in captivity, did you ever think about when you might be released?
Of course, I thought about it. I kept wondering what was happening in the country at that time. We had no news at all, no updates. I kept thinking whether my brother was still alive, the one who went with me to the blockade and was supposed to fly with me. I told him, let me go, I'll fly, deliberately. I just knew that if he flew, he would most likely die, or I would die, or both of us would. But if I died, I honestly wouldn't care anymore. But if he died, it would be really hard for me. I said, come on, you'll move in by land. There was supposed to be a deblockade operation there. It was planned a few times, not a great one, but still. And I'll fly there because you don't know anyone there, but I know everyone. I'll go. Those are my friends. He was like, oh, well, okay. I also had this terrible thing with my leg. It was a severe infection filled with pus, and it kept festering and worsening all the time. And I kept thinking to myself, I honestly don't even know if I'll live much longer because absolutely no one knew what would happen next. It was such an incredibly intense and unbearable pain. There were no antibiotics, and the pain was constant. And at any moment you wonder if you'll even survive, or maybe they'll shoot me tomorrow, or take me somewhere and just abandon me, and I won't even get my bandages changed. Such chaos in my head. But still, no matter how bad things get, people always hope for something good. It's probably a property of the human brain, the human body, that I think even people who are serving life sentences in prison, even when they're given a life sentence somewhere in some prison, in Russia, in America, they still at some point believe that maybe something is possible, maybe there will be an amnesty, maybe the sentence will be overturned, maybe there will be a military coup, or maybe a new president will release them. I think there are very few people who are sitting there and already know that this is where they'll die. I think people always believe in something positive.
Tell me, imagine you became the president's spokesperson, or you could advise him. What would you suggest to him?
Well, since I understand a little about this, I would probably advise him on something related to the military strategy. For example, the entire training process needs to change. Right now, mobilized people are recruited and sent for training, often led by officers who have never actually been in combat, people who haven't fought in real battles but are still teaching others. Then, after spending some time there, they're sent to the front lines without proper preparation. Since I do some training myself, I would strongly suggest changing the fundamental approach to military training.
How do you feel about people who speak the truth to your face?
It's good. But usually people like that don't have many friends. I have a bit of that trait myself. It's part of my character. If I don't like something, I say it. I'm quick-tempered, so to some people I'm the bad guy. Maybe they think I overreact or make things up. But to others, I'm a good person. That's just how it is with me.
What do you think everyone should truly do at least once in their entire life?
What's right for me will be right for others. That's the way it is.